Okay, so for some background. So I, female 26, feel like I just destroyed what was supposed to be a family dinner, and now everyone's acting like I'm some kind of monster for asking basic questions. I'm still sitting in my car outside my parents' house trying to figure out what the hell just happened and whether I'm actually the asshole here. My family has this thing where I'm always the one who gets called when something goes wrong. Like when my dad's truck broke down last year. They called me to figure out financing. When my sister, female 19, failed her first semester of college, guess who had to research community college options and help her apply? But then whenever I try to ask the practical questions that actually matter, suddenly I'm being negative or not being supportive. It's honestly exhausting. My sister got pregnant about 4 months ago. The baby daddy, let's call him Jake, is this 22-year-old guy she's been on and off with for like a year. He works at some warehouse, but I've met him maybe 3 times, and he seems, I don't know, just really immature. But whatever, not my relationship. The thing is, ever since she announced the pregnancy, it's like everyone just decided to focus on the cute baby stuff and completely ignore all the actual logistics. My parents have been buying tiny clothes and showing me ultrasound pictures. And don't get me wrong, I'm happy there's going to be a new baby in the family. But like, where is this baby going to live? How is my sister going to pay for anything? She's been working part-time at some retail place but keeps calling out because of morning sickness. So anyway, today was Sunday dinner at my parents' place. I walked in and immediately my mom and sister are sitting at the kitchen table with like 15 baby magazines spread out everywhere. There's also this huge pile of tiny clothes that my mom apparently bought yesterday. I'm talking $200 worth of newborn outfits from Target. My mom works part-time at a dental office and my dad does construction. So $200 on baby clothes in one shopping trip is a lot for them. My sister was going on and on about baby names like Sage or River, stuff that flows with nature themes. And then she starts showing me screenshots from Pinterest of these elaborate nursery setups, like full-on boho chic themes with macrame wall hangings and $300 cribs. I'm doing the math in my head while she's talking. My mom probably makes like $15 an hour, maybe 25 hours a week. My dad's construction work has been slower lately too. And my sister's talking about nursery themes like she's planning a wedding or something. So I asked what I thought was a pretty reasonable question about where exactly this nursery was going to be. The table went quiet. My sister looked at me like I'd asked her to solve calculus. She asked what I meant, so I explained that I was trying to understand where she was planning to live. Was she staying at mom and dad's? Were her and Jake getting a place together? I just wanted to understand the actual plan. My mom jumped in saying they'd figure all that out later, and right now they were just enjoying planning for the baby. But once I started asking questions, I couldn't stop. Maybe it was seeing that pile of expensive baby clothes, or maybe it was just months of everyone acting like this was all going to magically work out without any actual planning. I asked about health insurance. She's not on a plan. Prenatal care costs, no idea. Whether Jake was going to help financially, she got weird and quiet. If she was planning to go back to work after the baby, hadn't thought about it. Childcare, what's that? I know how this sounds. I know I was probably coming across as harsh, but these are basic questions. If you're having a baby in 5 months, shouldn't you have some idea how you're going to handle the practicals? When I asked directly if Jake was even going to help with anything, my sister's whole mood changed. Her eyes filled up with tears and she said really quietly that he doesn't think he's ready for this level of responsibility. Which, okay, that's honest. But also, what the fuck does that mean? Like, you don't get to opt out of responsibility for a baby you helped create because you don't feel ready. But apparently asking about this made me the villain. My sister started crying harder and saying I was attacking her during what was supposed to be a special family moment. She ran to the bathroom and my mom immediately went after her. My dad looked at me like I'd just kicked a puppy. He said she's scared and needs our support right now. Not a lecture. I told him I wasn't lecturing. I was asking practical questions that someone needs to ask. My mom came back from the bathroom and said my sister was pregnant and emotional and didn't need me making her feel worse about everything. I tried to explain that ignoring reality wasn't going to make the problems disappear, but my mom just snapped that I was being mean to a pregnant girl and should save the lectures for someone who asked for them. So now my sister won't talk to me. My parents think I'm a heartless bitch, and I'm sitting here wondering if I actually am the asshole for asking my 19-year-old pregnant sister what her actual plan is for this baby. I mean, someone had to ask, right? It's not like these problems are going to solve themselves just because we all pretend they don't exist. But maybe there's a better way to handle this that doesn't make everyone hate me. I love my sister and I want to support her. But I also can't pretend that buying cute baby clothes is the same thing as actually being prepared for a baby. Am I wrong for thinking that? Am I the idiot for asking my sister what the hell her plan is? Edit. Since so many people are asking, yes, my sister is still living at my parents' house. She has her old childhood bedroom, which is tiny and definitely not big enough for a crib, plus all the baby stuff. My parents have a small 3-bedroom house, and my dad uses the 3rd bedroom as his office/storage room, so there's really nowhere for a proper nursery setup. To those wondering about Jake, he lives with his parents too, and works like 30 hours a week at a warehouse. From what I can tell, he's basically been avoiding the whole pregnancy topic since she told him. My sister keeps saying he'll come around when the baby actually gets here, but honestly, that seems like wishful thinking. And yes, I probably could have brought this up more gently. I guess I just got frustrated seeing everyone act like buying baby clothes was the same thing as actually preparing for a baby. But maybe making my sister cry wasn't the best way to handle it. Now for the first update. Things got way worse since my last post, and honestly, I don't even know where to begin with what I found out. So remember how everyone said my family was being weird about money and avoiding the real issues? Well, turns out you were all absolutely right. And the situation is so much messier than I thought. Like I'm sitting here 3 months later realizing that whole pregnancy dinner disaster was basically just the tip of the iceberg. I should mention that around the same time as that dinner, I'd started getting more serious with my boyfriend. We've been together for about 8 months, but things had gotten more intense after all the family stuff. I'd been venting to him about the money stress I'd noticed at dinner, which is probably how he knew about their situation in the first place. I need to give some background first because this is honestly insane. So, my parents have always been super proud about handling their own problems, you know? Like my dad especially has this thing where he doesn't want to burden the kids, even though I'm 26 and have a decent job. They've always been like, we raised you to be independent, so we need to be independent too. Which sounds good in theory, but also means they hide stuff when they probably shouldn't. My dad does construction, and my mom works part-time at a dental office. I always knew money was sometimes tight, but they never really talked numbers with me. And honestly, after that whole dinner blow-up, I've barely talked to any of them. My sister and I haven't spoken since. My parents have been polite but distant, and I figured everyone just needed space to cool off. But here's where it gets weird. Last Tuesday, I'm meal prepping for the week when my aunt calls. She's like, hey honey, so how are you dealing with the house situation with your parents? I'm like, what house situation? I knew money had been tight. I could see that at the dinner, but I had no idea it was this serious. House situation. How bad was it really? Turns out, my parents never told me they asked my aunt for money 3 months ago, like right around the time of that dinner disaster. They needed $2,800 to catch up on mortgage payments because they were temporarily behind due to my dad's hours getting cut at work. They asked my aunt for money. They never ask anyone else for help. I'm always the one they call when something goes wrong. Was this because of the dinner fight? Did they think I'd judge them the same way I questioned my sister? I'm just, what? My dad's hours got cut. When? How behind on the mortgage? Why didn't anyone tell me any of this? My aunt realizes I don't know anything and tells me she thought they would have told me by now since I'm usually the one who helps with this stuff. She explains that my dad's hours got slashed from 40 to 25 per week, like 4 months ago. 4 months. And apparently they've been struggling to keep up with bills ever since. I immediately call my parents. My mom answers and I'm like, why didn't you tell me about Dad's work situation and the mortgage? First they try to say my aunt misunderstood and there's no real problem. But when I push for actual details, my dad gets on the phone and admits his hours did get cut, but they're managing fine and didn't want to worry anyone. Except when I ask specifically about the mortgage payments, there's this long silence. And then my mom's like, we might be a little behind, but we're working it out. A little behind. Turns out they're 4 months behind on payments. So I'm like, okay, how much do you need? I can send money tomorrow. I have savings. And this is literally what family is for, right? And this is where it gets really fucking weird. My parents exchange these looks. I can hear them whispering. And my mom says they already have someone helping coordinate the family finances, and they need to handle this the right way. I'm like, what does that even mean? Coordinate what finances? But then why go through someone else instead of just talking to me directly? My dad's being all awkward and finally explains that my boyfriend called them like 6 weeks ago. He offered to help manage any financial assistance properly and apparently warned them about family lending creating dependency. He told them any help should go through proper oversight to make sure everyone's finances stay healthy. My boyfriend called my parents about their money 6 weeks ago and never mentioned it to me. When I ask what exactly he said, my mom tells me he seemed very knowledgeable about finance and said he wanted to make sure any help they got would be structured properly so it doesn't hurt anyone's credit or create what he called unhealthy family financial dynamics. I swear my head was about to explode. Like, who the fuck asked him to coordinate anything? And why are my parents going along with this? But before I can even process that, my aunt calls me back an hour later. She talked to my mom again and got more details. Apparently, my boyfriend positioned himself as my financial advisor, since fucking when, and told my parents he needed to track large expenditures to protect my credit and financial future. He promised to coordinate any family assistance through proper channels. I can't even wrap my head around this. Like, when did my boyfriend become the family financial coordinator? When did my parents start taking financial advice from someone who doesn't even live here? And why the hell didn't anyone think to mention this to me? The whole pregnancy situation, the dinner fights, everyone acting like I was being too harsh asking practical questions. And meanwhile, there's this whole other crisis happening that explains why everyone was so stressed and weird about money. My parents have been drowning financially for months, and instead of telling me, they're going through my boyfriend who's apparently inserted himself as some kind of family financial manager. I tried calling my boyfriend yesterday to ask about this, but he was in meetings all day and then had to handle some work stuff and would call me back. Still hasn't called back, which is not normal for him, actually. I keep thinking about that dinner and how everyone got so upset when I asked about practical planning. But if my parents were already struggling with money and my sister's having a baby, those questions were even more important than I realized. And everyone knew except me. I'm honestly just confused and kind of hurt. I get that my parents have pride about money stuff, but I've always been the one they call when things go wrong. Why is this time different? And why is my boyfriend involved in my family's financial decisions without me even knowing about it? I just don't understand why everyone's going along with this. Edit 1. Since people are asking, no, my boyfriend has never positioned himself as any kind of financial advisor before. He works in sales, not finance. I honestly have no idea where this came from. Edit 2. To those saying this sounds like financial abuse, I'm starting to wonder about that too. Why would he insert himself into my family's money problems without telling me? And why are my parents going along with it? Edit 3. For context on my family's money situation, they live in a small 3-bedroom house they bought in 2005. The mortgage should be pretty manageable, but with Dad's hours cut, it makes sense they'd struggle. I just can't believe they hid this for 4 months. Edit 4. Yes, I've tried calling my boyfriend multiple times since finding this out. He keeps saying he's busy with work, but will call me back. It's been 2 days now, which is really weird for him. Edit 5. To answer the questions about my aunt, she ended up not lending them the money because she's on a fixed income. She told them to talk to me instead, but apparently my boyfriend had already coordinated a different solution by then. Still don't know what that solution actually is, though. Now for the second update. You guys were absolutely right about the financial manipulation thing being way worse than I thought. I should have listened when everyone said to run, because this whole situation got way worse than I expected. Okay, so this is going to be long because basically my entire life fell apart over the past few months, and I'm still trying to process what the hell happened. I'm writing this from my friend's couch at 2 a.m. because I literally can't sleep and need to get this all out. So after my last post about discovering my boyfriend had been handling my family's finances without telling me, I decided to confront him directly. I know a bunch of you said I should just dump him immediately, but we'd been together for 8 months, and I wanted to at least give him a chance to explain what the fuck he was thinking. I showed up at his apartment last Thursday with all my notes from the conversations with my aunt and parents. I had written down the exact phrases they used about his requirements and proper channels because I wanted to see how he'd react when I repeated his own words back to him. At first, he tried to completely deny everything. He said my aunt misunderstood something, and maybe my parents got confused about what he said. But when I started reading back the specific things about financial dependency and protecting my credit, his whole attitude changed. Then he switched to trying to fix things where he admitted to maybe being too involved, but tried to frame it like he was just worried about me. He kept saying he was just trying to help my family make better financial decisions and he didn't want me to get hurt by lending money I couldn't afford. I'm like, but you never even asked me about any of this. You just inserted yourself into my family's private financial crisis without telling me. And he said he was going to discuss it with me, but he wanted to understand the situation first, which is complete bullshit because this had been going on for 6 weeks. Like, how long does it take to understand the situation? The whole conversation was just him trying to make his control look like protection, like he was just looking out for me. And he didn't realize how it would look, but never actually taking responsibility for going behind my back and manipulating my family. I left feeling even more confused than before because part of me wanted to believe he really was just trying to help. But the whole thing felt so weird. Like, who does that? Who calls their girlfriends struggling parents and positions themselves as a financial advisor without even mentioning it? Anyway, I was still trying to figure out what to do about the boyfriend situation when everything with my family went completely bad. 2 weeks later, my mom calls me in complete panic mode. They got the official foreclosure notice with a 30-day deadline. 30 days. Like, how do you let it get that bad without telling anyone? So during this call, my mom casually mentions that my sister's retail job didn't work out 3 weeks ago. So my 19-year-old pregnant sister has been unemployed for almost a month, and no one thought to mention this either. Though honestly, given how often she was calling out sick from that retail job, I probably should have seen this coming. Apparently, she's been sleeping on my parents' couch ever since because her tiny childhood bedroom isn't comfortable anymore now that she's like 7 months pregnant. Which, okay, I get that pregnancy is uncomfortable, but also she's about to have a baby and still has no actual plan for anything. When I offered to send emergency money for the mortgage, because obviously that's the immediate priority, my parents said they need more than money and asked if my sister could stay with me just until the baby comes in 6 weeks. I'm like, stay with me where? I have a 600 square foot 1-bedroom apartment. Where exactly would a heavily pregnant woman sleep? On my tiny living room couch, and then where would the baby go after it's born? But my mom just kept insisting that family helps family in tough times, and my sister really needs a stable place right now. When I tried to explain the logistics of fitting 2 people plus baby stuff into my tiny apartment, my dad got on the phone and said I was making excuses, and they were really disappointed in how I was handling this family crisis. I'm just, what? I'm making excuses because I'm pointing out that my apartment literally doesn't have space for 3 people. And since when is it my responsibility to house my pregnant sister who's been making 0 effort to actually prepare for this baby? The whole conversation was insane. They kept talking about how I'm the successful one and I have my life together, so I should be helping more. But like, I worked hard to get my life together. I saved money, I got a decent job, I live within my means. That doesn't mean I'm responsible for everyone else's poor planning. When I said no, they completely lost it. My mom started crying about how they're losing their house, and my sister has nowhere to go, and I'm just abandoning the family when we need you most. My dad said they might have to bring her over anyway since they still have my spare key from when I moved in 2 years ago. That's when I knew this whole situation had gone completely crazy. They were threatening to just show up at my apartment with my pregnant sister, whether I agreed or not. I changed my locks the next day. I texted my parents that I love them, but I can't house my sister, and using my spare key without permission would be a violation of my boundaries. I offered again to help with money for the mortgage or other immediate needs, but my apartment wasn't an option. Radio silence for like 8 weeks, which honestly was kind of a relief because I was dealing with my own shit. Finally broke up with the boyfriend after realizing the financial manipulation was probably just the tip of the iceberg, and trying to figure out my life without all the family stuff constantly happening. Then last Tuesday, I'm getting ready for work when someone's knocking on my door at like 7 a.m. It's my sister, holding this tiny baby and looking absolutely exhausted. She said she knows I said no before, but she really just needs a safe place for a few hours while she figures things out. The baby was 8 days old, super tiny, which made sense since I knew from the timing that he must have been born premature at around 8 months, and she looked like she hadn't slept in days. I'm immediately like, what happened? Where has she been? When was the baby born? But she just keeps saying she needs to sit down and can she please just come in for a little while? So obviously I let her in, because what else am I gonna do? Leave a woman with a newborn baby standing in my hallway. She sits on my couch with the baby and I'm making her some tea and asking basic questions like where she's been staying and if she's okay. She's being really vague about everything. Says the baby was born 8 days ago at the hospital. She won't say which one. And she's been staying with friends since mom and dad had to move out of the house last month after the foreclosure went through. But it's not working out. When I ask about Jake, the baby daddy, she just shakes her head and says he wasn't ready for this. Which, no shit. We all saw that coming. The baby starts crying and she says he probably needs formula, but she doesn't have any with her. I'm like, okay, there's a CVS downstairs. I'll go grab some formula and diapers and whatever else you need. She seems really grateful and says she'll just rest on the couch with the baby while I run down to get supplies. It's literally a 5-minute trip to the store and back. I get formula, diapers, those little baby shirts, some other stuff I thought might be helpful. I'm trying to be supportive even though I'm completely overwhelmed by suddenly having a newborn in my apartment. I come back upstairs and my sister is gone. The baby is still there, sleeping in this little car seat thing she must have brought with her. But my sister is just gone. There's a note on my coffee table that says, I know you'll do the right thing. Family takes care of family. I'm just standing there holding a bag of baby formula looking at this sleeping baby like, what the fuck just happened? Did my sister just abandon her baby at my apartment? Is this really happening? I tried calling her immediately, but her phone went straight to voicemail. I called like 10 times. Nothing. I'm spiraling trying to figure out what to do. Like, do I call the police? Do I call my parents? I don't know anything about babies, and this kid is 8 days old. I don't even know his name. Then an hour later, my parents show up. Apparently, they've been staying at my aunt's place since losing the house. My sister called them from the Greyhound station saying she left the baby with someone who can take better care of him. When they realized she meant me, they immediately drove over. They find me completely panicked, holding this crying baby. I have no idea how to take care of. And instead of being concerned that their daughter just abandoned her newborn, they start begging me to let her come back and be with her baby. I'm like, she left. She dumped her baby on me and disappeared to the bus station, and you're asking me to let her move in. But my mom is sobbing about how my sister is just scared and young and doesn't know what she's doing, and I need to help because you can't let your nephew suffer. My dad keeps saying my sister made a mistake, but she needs support right now, not judgment. I feel like I'm losing my mind. This woman abandoned her 8-day-old baby, and my parents are acting like I'm the problem for not immediately agreeing to house her. I told them if my sister wants to see her baby, she can come back and we'll figure it out. But I'm not agreeing to let her move in just because she created this crisis. And if she really doesn't want to take care of her baby, then we need to call social services or something, because I can't just become a full-time babysitter for a newborn horn I'm not prepared to care for. My parents left upset, saying I'm punishing an innocent baby and they'll figure something out. But like, what exactly are they going to figure out? They're losing their house in 2 weeks. They can't take care of a baby either. And now I'm sitting here with my nephew, I guess that's what he is, trying to figure out what the hell I'm supposed to do. I called out of work today because I literally don't know how to take care of a baby, and I'm scared something will happen if I leave him alone. I keep thinking about what everyone said in my last posts about my family's dysfunction and how they always expect me to fix everything, because this feels like the absolute extreme version of that pattern. Like my sister created the ultimate crisis and now everyone expects me to just handle it. I love this baby already, how can you not? But I'm also terrified and angry and so fucking overwhelmed. I never wanted kids, I'm not prepared for this, and I feel like I'm being manipulated into becoming a parent because my sister couldn't handle her own choices. Is this really happening? Is my family really so dysfunctional that they'd use an innocent baby as emotional leverage to force me into housing my sister? I don't know what to do. I can't abandon a baby, but I also can't let my family keep manipulating me like this. I'm so tired of being the one who has to fix everyone else's problems. Sorry, this is so long and rambly. I haven't slept more than 2 hours at a time in 3 days, and I'm honestly barely holding it together. Any advice would be helpful, because I have no idea what the hell I'm supposed to do here. Edit. 1. Since people are asking, yes, I did contact social services, and they're sending someone out tomorrow to assess the situation. I kept detailed notes about everything my sister said and when she left. 2. To those wondering about the baby's health, he seems okay physically, but I'm taking him to urgent care later today just to make sure. I found some hospital discharge papers in the car seat that confirmed he was born at 35 weeks and had basic NICU discharge instruction. 3. For everyone asking if I've heard from my sister since, nothing. Her phone still goes straight to voicemail, and my parents claim they don't know where she went either.